Welcome in a world that just seems to get louder and louder. How do you actually tune out all that noise and find a clear signal? Well, that's exactly what we're diving into today, exploring some really powerful ideas from the work of Bill Vincent and Revival Ways of Glory Ministries. Our guide for this journey is the book, Tuned In, Hearing God's Voice in a Noisy World. It kicks off with this brilliant metaphor to tackle a question so many of us have asked. How can I really, truly hear from God when my life is just so full of distractions? So let's get into it. So here's the path we're going to take. First, we'll look at the main issue, what the book calls the problem of static. Then we'll get into the solution, which is all about tuning in to God. After that, we'll cover the first practical step, the discipline of silence, and see how action is key with obedience is your pit stop. And it all leads to the big picture, answering heaven's call. All right, so first things first, let's talk about the core challenge. The book calls it static. You know that sound, right? That frustrating noise on a radio that just makes it impossible to hear the music clearly. It's that feeling that God is speaking, but something is getting in the way, blocking the signal. So what is this static? And more importantly, where is it coming from? The central idea in the book is this powerful image of an old AM radio. If you've ever fiddled with one, you know exactly what this feels like. You turn that dial so carefully, and for a moment, the station is crystal clear. But then the slightest bump, the smallest drift, and the room is filled with static again. The whole point is that our spiritual lives can be just like that. God is always broadcasting a clear signal. The station hasn't gone anywhere. It's us who drift off frequency. The message is still there. It just takes our intentional effort to tune back in. So what's causing all this interference? Well, the book identifies a few specific channels that we tend to get stuck on. You've got the worry channel. That's the constant low-level hum of anxiety about money, about our health, about what tomorrow holds. Then there's the offense channel, where we just keep replaying old hurts and grievances on a loop, drowning out everything else. And you've even got the nostalgia channel, where we're so focused on how great things were in the past that we completely miss what God is trying to do right here, right now. These aren't just thoughts. They're powerful broadcasts that jam the frequency we're trying to listen to. Okay, so if the problem is all this static from competing channels, then what's the solution? This is where the book gets to the very heart of its message, building directly on that amazing radio analogy. It's all about learning how to intentionally tune in. So what does it really mean to tune in? Well, the book defines it as a conscious, deliberate act. This isn't about passively waiting for the signal to just magically clear up on its own. Nope, it's about us actively refining our own focus, our own hearts, bringing ourselves into harmony with what God is broadcasting. It's a discipline, a choice we make to align ourselves with His frequency so we can hear it with precision and clarity. And this comparison here really puts it in black and white, doesn't it? On one side, you have what you might call a nominal faith. It's kind of passive, it often coasts some things that happened years ago, and it's full of static and confusion. But on the other side, you have a tuned-in faith. This is all about active, in-the-moment alignment with the Spirit. And the result? Clarity and harmony. It shows us that moving from one side to the other isn't just a small change. It's a completely different way of approaching our spiritual lives. So, the big question is, how do we actually begin this process? Where do we start? Well, the book proposes a foundational first step, a discipline that, let's be honest, is incredibly rare in our noisy world today, the practice of silence. It goes right back to that radio, doesn't it? To listen to one station, you have to tune out all the others. It's a simple principle with huge spiritual weight. The book makes it clear. If we want to hear God's voice, we have to make a conscious choice to turn down the volume on all the world's competing stations. The constant demands, the phone notifications, the endless chatter that tries to fill every quiet moment of our day. And this isn't just some vague idea. The book provides a really clear 4-step process. Step 1, silence the noise. That means turning off the literal noise and the internal static. Step 2, accept the discomfort. At first, quiet can feel weird, but that's where we learn to depend on God. Step 3, be honest. Just admit where you are right now in your journey. And step 4, and this is so important, wait. We're reminded that prayer isn't a monologue where we just dump our requests. It's a dialogue, which means after we speak, we have to actually pause and create the space to hear the response. You know, we're at a great spot here. And if these ideas about tuning in and finding stillness are really speaking to you, you can go so much deeper. The source material for this and a lot more can be found by visiting revivalwavesofgloryministries.com. So once we've carved out some silence and we're starting to hear a little more clearly what comes next, well, the book introduces another powerful idea, one that connects hearing with doing, and it uses this absolutely brilliant analogy from the world of auto racing. This analogy just completely shifts your perspective. Picture a high-speed race. To an outsider, a pit stop looks like a huge delay, right? The car pulls over, other racers are flying by, and it feels like you're losing ground. But any race car driver will tell you, the pit stop is where the race is won. It's essential. And that's the point here. When God prompts us to pause, to listen, and to obey, to take a pit stop, it is not a setback. It's the secret weapon that refuels, recalibrates, and prepares us for victory. So, how do we master these divine pit stops? The book lays out 4 keys to keep that conversation flowing. First, immediate action. When you hear that direction, hesitation just creates more static. Second, personal revelation. This is all about you cultivating your own connection, not just living off someone else's. Third, guarded confirmation. When God gives you a word, the wisdom is often to hold it close and let him confirm the timing, not just blast it out to everyone. And finally, consistent surrender. This is about making obedience a daily rhythm, a habit, not just a rare, dramatic event. Okay, so we've learned how to quiet the noise, and we've learned to obey in the moment. But why? What is all of this for? This brings us to the ultimate purpose. You see, the goal of being tuned in isn't just about our own inner peace. It's about being prepared for a much, much bigger call. The book points us to this incredible invitation in the book of Revelation, where the Apostle John hears a voice like a trumpet saying, "Come up here." And the point the book makes is that this isn't just some ancient story. It's presented as a living, breathing invitation for anyone who is tuned in and listening today, an invitation to see things from a higher perspective, to understand a divine plan. And what is that higher purpose? Well, according to the book, it's a call to action. It's a call for us to become deliverers. Being tuned in isn't some passive state of bliss. It's what prepares us to be part of a movement that carries God's fire and hope into a world that desperately needs it. This reframes the whole thing. Hearing God's voice isn't the destination, it's the starting line for our divine assignment. So in the end, everything we've talked about really boils down to this one powerful question that the source material leaves us with. The invitation is there. The frequency is broadcasting. The door is open. The only question left is, will you step through? If you want to continue this exploration, you can find the book Tuned In and so many other resources over at revivalwavesofgloryministries.com. Thanks for listening to the Deep Dive podcast.